Hey, everybody, welcome to yet another great interview at our business summit. Today, we are talking to Bruce Rymshaw from Acularis Marketing, and we're going to learn all about websites, SEO, putting out ads, and how the heck do we do it, and, and what's involved with it, and what are some best practices and stuff. So, Bruce, tell us, who are you, what do you do, and give us a short little intro into those things that we're going to talk about.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on, Bill. Really appreciate it. Basically, what we do at Acularis Marketing Solutions, we are a full-service digital marketing agency. What that means is basically website development all the way through to website marketing and advertising. So even if your company, if your brand has an established web presence, what we like to do is make sure that people are finding you and finding your website for terms that are not necessarily branded terms. So let's say that you're in a retail setting, you're an e-commerce store, which is a big segment of our business. It's something we love to work with. If you're in e-commerce, we will help people find your products based on different search results that are relevant to that product that aren't necessarily branded toward you. If you sell shoes, we are not going to help you rank for Nike because Nike is obviously its own brand. We're going to help people find your brand using non-branded terms. And we do that through search engine marketing, and we also do it through search engine advertising, which some people know as Google AdWords. Some people call it PPC or pay-per-click advertising. These things are extremely valuable to every brand online. And it doesn't matter if you're in retail, if you're a contractor, if you're B2B, B2C, we can help.
Awesome. All right, so a lot there. you
Yep,
know, let's kind of dive into that first thing. So we were talking about the website.
sure.
When it comes to your website, what are some best practices of things to have on your website to start helping with that SEO and that branding optimization that we're talking about here?
Yeah, that's why we shortened it to SEO, right? To
Yeah.
try to keep everything simple. So basically what it comes down to is content. Content is king. Okay. Google themselves have actually made that known in various search engine algorithm updates. They've made it very clear that content is more important than anything else because if Google is ranking your website for these valuable terms that people are actually driving traffic coming to your site, they want to make sure that they're driving people to the correct websites. So what we do when it comes to website design is we design websites with marketing in mind. Now, again, you may already have a website that's been built for you. What we do with that website is we can optimize it from a search engine perspective and from a user perspective, what we call UX or user experience. We make sure that that site is absolutely optimized to the people that should be coming to your site and should be converting to business and customers for you. Um, we highly recommend that you keep your content on your website fresh. That means at least once a month, updating your products, updating your services pages, updating locations that you serve. Maybe have a blog on your website or a news section. If you host events, an event section that's frequently updated is another way to be ahead of the Google algorithm, so to speak.
Awesome. All right, so you gave us a couple ideas on how to put things on our website because I think right there alone, that's something that a lot of people don't think about. Like, oh, my website's set and it's there. I'm going to leave it, and then I'm just going to go out and post on other things like social media. But I
Sure.
think that's a key point to take home, that posting things on your website as updates and stuff is key as well. So, all right. So now that we've kind of, well, not now though, because we just started touching the surface, but let's say we have our website, we're posting things on it and such. What are some things that we need to start doing, besides the one that we just mentioned, to start increasing that awareness on our website?
Well, again, once you've got the website in place, once that content is there, to increase that awareness and to drive those new customers and to get that new traffic to your website for those non-branded terms. Let's say that your company is called Bruce's Plumbing and you're a plumber in Southern New Jersey. Well, if people are searching specifically for Bruce's Plumbing, they're likely to find you. But if they're searching for a term like plumbers in South Jersey or 24-hour plumbing service or emergency plumbing service, to get those kind of hits to your website, to get that traffic that doesn't already know you and already have you as an established brand, to drive that traffic to your website, you need to implement some of those things within the content. And then you also need to be working with a skilled SEO or marketing vendor that's going to know how to change the code on the back end of your website, which is equally as important. You need to understand that the code is how Google reads your website, as opposed to the front end or the user experience of the website. So those two things work in tandem to drive that traffic.
That's really cool. I did not know that there was a coding part of it as well. All right, cool. So, all right, so the terms that we would put on the website and then coding and stuff. So, I think the next natural progression of where my brain is going is, let's say we started to get people to come there. We have people finding us for the branded terms.
Sure.
Is there ways to increase that by doing more with your website, or is that where we start turning into those other things with those ads and stuff like that?
Well, we like to say that SEO is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And we also like to say that your website is never truly finished. Everything is a work in progress, right? We talked about that content update, what Google calls the freshness update. Your website has to constantly be evolving, not only to reflect changes to your company, because every company grows, every business grows and expands over time, or at least we want it to.
Mm.
And as that company changes and evolves, it's important to make sure that those things are reflected on the website. And what that's going to do is prove to Google and to Bing and to every other search engine that's out there that your site is still relevant for those things that you're ranking for, that you're still the thought leader, that you are still the primary go-to in that field or in your market or your target demographic for those terms. So you're always going to want to put effort into the website. From an SEO perspective, once you're ranking number one on that first page for a certain term, once you're at the top of that page, it's important to stay there, because if you're not investing in your company's SEO effort, if you're not investing in your company's online marketing, I can guarantee you that at least one of your competitors is. And they're taking business from you if you're not maintaining that number one spot. So it's good to constantly be updating that content. It's good to study Google's algorithm changes. There are many sites, or searchengineland.com is a great one. That's kind of a resource site for business owners that can learn more about SEO themselves. Or again, you can always talk to consultants like us that can kind of walk you through that process and explain the difference between what the user sees and what Google sees as being relevant to drive that valuable traffic to your site. Beyond that, we get into search engine advertising. Once you've hit number one, there's nowhere to go but down. But what's really important is to make sure that even once you've hit that benchmark, even once you've hit number one, that you're showing up on as many places on that front page as possible for that term. So make sure that you have a good social media presence, make sure that your website is up to date. And if you're running ads for those terms as well, you're going to get even more traffic, more leads, and essentially more business, because you are much more prevalent in those search results than any of your competitors.
All right, cool. So let's get into the ads then.
Sure.
What types are there, and what are, like, let's learn a little bit about them.
Well, most importantly, and really what we emphasize is Google AdWords. It's a term a lot of people have heard of. I'm sure a lot of the business owners that are watching here today and are going to be participating later on are either involved currently with an AdWords rep, or they're using AdWords themselves, or they're using another agency to run Google Ads for them. These ads basically show up in premium spots. So if again, Bruce's Plumbing, I'm looking for a plumber. I type in Cherry Hill, Camden County, New Jersey plumbers, right? If I have an ad in that top spot, and then I have an organic listing, which is the SEO effort, and the top two spots on that page show my brand, I have an 80% higher chance of getting a client out of that than I would if I were not showing up in those top spots, those premium spots. And that, again, that's what my company and really any company that's focused on SEO and PPC, that should be their goal, is to get you into those premium placements for terms that have not only relevance to your brand, but also search volume. Now, that's something we do as well. We give you reporting that will show you how many people are looking for a certain term and how difficult it would be for us to get you ranking for that term. There are several softwares that you can use to do this. We use some that are proprietary that my company Acularis actually built in-house. We use some that are widely available like SEMrush and Moz. But basically, these softwares will give you all of the data that you need to find the search terms that are most relevant at driving not just traffic, but what we call qualified traffic, the leads that really make sense for your brand. That information is also pulled from other sources like Google AdWords. So we can tell you which ads are going to cost more based on how many clicks per month you can expect to get, what the conversion cost would be for a click. And a conversion can be considered many things. We can track your phone calls that you get through those ads. We can track how many people filled out a contact form on your website. Did they download more information? Did they download something like a white paper? Did they request a quote for your services? Those kind of things we provide reporting for, but there are other tools to kind of get you to that point. Like I said, SEMrush, Moz are useful, and Google Analytics is a completely free service that Google themselves offers for you to be able to utilize that information.
Awesome. All right. So AdWords, does that refer solely to the kind of ads where you see them on the Google site itself, or does that also refer to maybe video ads that are somewhere else through like YouTube or I guess other kind of things as well?
That's a great question because Google actually owns YouTube. So basically, if you're running Google AdWords, there are several different types of ads that you can run. You can run the primary text ads, which is really where most of our customer base places their investment because they have the highest efficacy. If you're in a very competitive space, we can still guarantee basically a 25% minimum qualified click-through rate. So we do a really good job with getting people to your site. But in terms of other placements for those ads, we can run YouTube ads. And something that's also really effective that we recommend everyone look into is what's called retargeting. Retargeting ads, you probably have seen them yourself. Let's say you go to your local Ford dealership's website because you're looking for a new car. Right? You don't buy a car that day, but then for weeks you have ads for that Ford dealership following you around and they're offering you specials and incentives to come in and buy your next car. That's retargeting and it works. Retargeting in some cases can be even more effective than the initial ad because we call that lead nurturing. And lead nurturing is a process where someone has shown enough interest that they've gone to your site. We know that they're there, and then we just keep giving those breadcrumbs to get them to come back and maintain that interest. Don't let them forget that you're there. And those ads can also have different targeting sets for length of time. So, for instance, if someone went to your site a month ago and they still haven't made a purchase, we can offer them increasing discounts or increasing incentives to come back. So we stay in front of them.
Awesome.
Right.
That's really cool that they the way that it's breaking down so that you can really narrow that focus and get those people back is really cool. So let's kind of go a little bit into that. So when we're developing one of these ads, what are things that we should consider? What are things that we should put into it? And what are some demographics and things that we should know before we really like get into going like what do you need to know, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Sure. Really the things that you want to look at when it comes to the initial setup of an advertising campaign or even an SEO campaign. Again, if you have a well-established brand, your customers already know who you are. And if you've given them good service, they're going to come back. it is what it is. That's great for you. But what we want to do is kind of look at Google as the yellow pages of the 21st century, because that's what it is. People used to pick up a phone book and find a local vendor for a service, and maybe they didn't know who that vendor was, but they're looking for someone who has a really eye-catching ad, or they're looking for someone that will offer 24/7 support, or they're offering a discount, or they're offering some kind of incentive to come back. Always make sure that you have a really good hook to get people interested right out of the gate. When you're setting up your website, if you have any incentives, put those incentives front and center on your website. If you have any offers, if you have any free downloads, if you have any free consultations, any giveaways, any events that you have coming up, make sure that those things are highlighted front and center on your homepage, because that is going to get the attention. And again, for the people that didn't convert that first time, the retargeting will get them to come back for those things. Secondly, I would say find terms that make the most sense. Like I said, there are softwares out there. And again, it always helps to have an agency kind of walk you through this process as well. But there are softwares that are useful in helping you determine what terms are going to drive the most traffic and which traffic is the easiest to get for your business. Is it traffic that's going to take 3 years to get to your website, or is it traffic that's going to be there next month? And that's what we look at, because for us, if you're a small startup clothing company, it's going to be really hard to compete against Walmart and Target. It's going to be really hard to compete against Amazon, but it may not be hard to compete against local shops. It may not be hard to compete against some regional retailers. We're experts at finding that data, but that data is definitely available. And again, to the novice SEO, or to the person getting into this for the first time, my advice would be spend a lot of time learning Google Analytics. There's a lot of automated kind of help procedures built into that site. Google Analytics is a great tool. I recommend that every business owner have Google Analytics set up on their website. That is something that gives you all of the traffic data that you need. It gives you search engine rankings reports. It gives you that data. Some of it can be very granular, but you can also look at it from a very high level. It doesn't have to be that granular.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So this is one area that I always struggle with. So, it's really cool, all the different pieces. Like I'm learning as we go as well. All right. So we talked about SEO and website and getting yourself in that high ranking on Google. We talked about how the website starts appearing that way, some of the things that you need to do in order to get there. We also talked about the advertising and stuff to help boost that and get people to your website, and also get people there, and kind of the different options they have. And then we also just talked about the way to get that data and that reporting that you need in order to become up with all of this.
Right.
So I think the next thing that I want to kind of make sure everyone understands is timeframes.
Right.
Like what are realistic timeframes for people when they are tackling this, when it comes to SEO, when it comes to building a brand, when it comes to doing ads. I get that different styles might have different answers, but like I want people to kind of get the concept of like, I'm getting into this. When am I going to see things start coming back in general?
Right.
So that people have a good terms on this, because I think it can vary, but I think it's good for people to understand that, because it is an investment.
It absolutely is an investment. It takes time, it takes money, it takes a lot of effort. And again, this is why I say that the effort is always ongoing. You kind of hit the nail on the head when you said that it's different styles of business, different verticals, different industries, and most importantly, demographics. If you're trying to sell a high volume, low price consumer product, you have to sell that nationwide, possibly worldwide, to make your money back. If you're selling high end commodities like insurance, if you're selling mortgages, things like that, obviously you're looking at a much smaller target set. You're looking at people that are willing to spend a lot more money, and you need fewer clients to make it a worthwhile return. But at the same time, it's a much more limited set of people that you can target. Um, every single industry is different. Um, a good SEO or PPC or online marketing vendor of any kind, any agency that does what Acularis does, will tell you from the outset of your campaign, even before you sign that contract to work with a company like ours, the first thing that we should tell you is an expectation of how long it will take to really see a result, because it really does vary business to business. Again, are your competitors Target and Walmart? It's going to take hundreds of thousands of dollars to compete with them because they're spending millions. Is your competitor a local insurance agency? Is your competitor a local restaurant or a bar? Then you're looking at a much different time frame. You're looking at a quicker turnaround. um, for an example of how we like to do things, we look at every client individually. We do a little bit of legwork before we even give you a contract. We do what we call an initial analysis and it's completely free. We do this for anyone that wants to work with us. We put that analysis together because we don't know what services to propose for you, and we don't know how long it's going to take, how expensive it's going to be until we do that legwork. Any decent agency should do that for you. They should take the time and not give you kind of a what we call a cookie cutter proposal. Um, SEO and PPC should not be an assembly line service. It should be tailored to that business because every business is going to have a different expectation, a different demographic, and a different customer base. So we've gotten results for clients in as little as 2 months. We've had some clients that would work with us for a year before they saw a result. But then again, the result is proportional to the investment. And that's in pretty much anything in life I've learned. Um, but at the same time, it's one of those things that SEO, PPC, they're never truly done. You can't look at marketing as it's a 3-course meal and I've had my meal and then I don't need it again until later on today. It's something that you need to constantly be monitoring, investing in, because the moment that you lose those rankings, like I said, those top results get 80% of the traffic for those terms. And if you're not investing in those anymore, your competitors will be, because they want that 80% just as much as you do. It means just as much to them. So in terms of result, it changes, but in terms of the effort, it's ongoing, and it should always be looked at as an ongoing part of your marketing and advertising plan every year.
Absolutely. And I think that there's two big things that come from that you kind of touched on. Um, I hope I don't forget them. So number one, with I think, once you're at the beginning of your business, and what a lot of people get in the rhythm of, especially if it's a single person in the business, a lot of that the way that leads are coming in, the marketing's coming in, or whatever they're doing is all self-reliant, but
Yep.
also um, a lot of it comes from direct contact
Right.
because they haven't really built any kind of brand yet. And that
Okay.
switch for people, comes when they start doing these things that you're talking about. And sometimes it's hard to get out of it because I've been in those positions before myself where it's so much is coming from this area. Why would I bother doing over here? Or so
Right.
much is coming from over here. I don't have the time to put into this, and I think that one of the things we need to do as business owners is understand that the really big difference between us and the big companies that are out there is that they understand the concept that they have to do multiple versions of marketing and they have to do multiple ways to get in front of their clients to get past that initial hurdle of referrals and direct sales,
Right.
which are good. But if you want to get to a point where you're really making it a business and a big company, you have to get past that. So that's a mental thing that I think, I wanted to kind of mention. And then I knew the second one would go out of my head as soon as I said that. Um, it'll come back to me. So we talked about the scale and how what perceptions people need to have when they get into doing this kind of marketing. Is there anything else that you think people should know when it comes to understanding how this works, or understanding the scope of what it is, or understanding the importance of it?
Well, so to your first point, um, yes, referrals are great. Referrals work for everyone. That is guaranteed, and you don't need a marketing expert to tell you that. Every business owner that's watching this is going to understand that referrals are the best way to get business. However, you're absolutely right. You can't put every egg, so to speak, in that basket. You do have to, as a business owner, understand that as great as referrals are, there are other ways to generate inbound warm leads. That's what SEO and that's what PPC are. It's inbound marketing versus outbound marketing. You're not sending out a blind email, which we do that as well. And that has its own type of efficacy. But these are not cold leads. These are people that are looking for your brand's services, and we're simply driving them to you. So there is value to that. They're all the leads that you get through SEO and PPC are warm leads. To the other end of really what to expect, again, I think that the expectation has to be reasonable based on how much time, effort, and money that you're willing to put into these kind of campaigns. A smaller business should expect to spend at least $500 to $1,000 a month on Google AdWords to be effective. Some agencies to earn your business will tell you that you can get great results for only $100 a month ad spend. We have very little evidence of that. And unfortunately, we've had clients that came to Acularis because they had been burned on experiences like that, where an agency had promised them the world for only $100 a month, and that result was not delivered. You have to look at your agency as an extension of your business. Okay. Personally, our philosophy at Acularis is that we don't like to be considered a vendor. We like to be considered a partner. We want to learn everything that there is to know about your business because that makes us more effective at marketing and helping you to sell that business. I think that anyone that is trying to tackle an SEO or a PPC campaign themselves, if they're trying to bring it in-house, should at least speak with a consultant like us, even if it's not an ongoing consultancy relationship, even if it's a one-time consultancy, just to make sure that you're on the right track and that you know what you're getting yourself into. Because if you're not putting the right time and effort into these things, of course you're not going to see a result.
Mhm.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not an attorney. My agency hires the business services that we need. We have an accountant, we have a lawyer, we have those things because we don't do that in-house. If marketing is not your expertise, if you know your business but don't necessarily know how to sell it outside of direct sales and referrals, then it's great to talk to an agency that will make the time to understand what it is that you're looking for, and again, fit your company. Don't ever settle for a vendor or an agency that simply wants to hand you a cookie cutter proposal, because that's not going to be tailored for your business. And you set up your business the way that you wanted to. Your agency and every vendor that you work with should be working for you and not for themselves.
Absolutely. And that reminds me of the last question that I had. It's a like statement, if you will. And mentioned this before in one of the other videos that we were doing. And with the way that the world or the businesses in the world are going, because there's so much content out there and so much going on, it's reverse of what it used to be. Whereas before it was a matter of getting out there and putting out, a lot of ads and volume because there wasn't much there. So you really stood out. It's now the inverse. To stand out, you have to be specific. You have to really narrow down. You have to really get focused on who these people are that you want to get to and exactly where you want to go to get them, so that you are standing out to the right people, but you're also getting the results. Because just pumping out content, if it's directionless, it's just going to wade out into the noise that's there currently.
Mhm.
Um, so it really comes down to doing exactly what you're talking about, which is to get specific, figure out you specifically and who are you going to hit. Even if you're trying to hit like 100,000, a million people, that's really nothing compared to how many people are on this planet anymore.
Right.
And knowing who your 100,000 people are is important, and where are they and how can you get to them to navigate this noise that's out there now, pretty much.
Right. And that's really important. I like to think that had I started this company 50 years ago instead of 10 years ago, that not only Acularis but many other companies that do what we do wouldn't have made it, because at the time you were putting ads in newspapers, you were putting billboards on the side of the road, you were doing radio ads. Those things hit everybody, and you're spending a lot of money to hit everybody. But everybody is not your target audience. Your target audience may be, only 500 to 1,000 people. One of our clients is actually a high-end business consultancy that only works with Fortune 50 companies. He can only have 50 companies as clients because of the enterprise level service he provides. So then we need to determine, what is your market share? What is the ceiling? If you can only work with a limited set of clientele, what is the ceiling for that market share for you? What do you actually expect to get from that market share? We've worked in a consumer products industry before. We've worked with a company that manufactures custom printed metal tins. Turns out there are only 3 companies in the United States that do that. And 2 of them are large conglomerates. And this is a family-owned business. It only has 2% of the market. But that 2% of the market is worth $12.5 million a year. So that for them, it was worth it to invest in us, because if that 2.5% of the market that they had, if they could turn that into 3% or 4%, they've turned that company into a 2 or 3 times more profitable venture than it was before they worked with us. So that's something that you have to look at, is understanding your audience that you currently have, understanding the potential that you could have, and really what do you want to do to get there? What is it worth to you to have that growth? Again, it's really, really tailored to the business. So I can't emphasize enough how important it is that every business, either works with someone or puts the effort in themselves to understand the individuality of their product. Bill, I'm sure you tell people all the time from a consultancy perspective that they need to tailor their business based off of their own needs, their own budget, their own growth expectations, right? And we absolutely emphasize those same principles, because if you're not sure of where your business can go, then we're not sure where to lead you. You need to give us the information about your company and your expectations. We get you there. And that's the point of what we do in digital marketing and advertising.
Awesome. All right. So before we get into some actionable steps of what people can do to kind of get started in this journey, we'll call it, is there anything else that you think we should touch on when it comes to website ads or SEO?
I really think we covered a lot, but I think, again, most importantly, understand your brand. Identify, your mission statement or your company's goals, your sales goals. Identify all of those things before you really jump into this kind of a program, because if you're going in blind, it's something that could end up being an absolute waste of time, money, and effort. Really, what we like to say is always understand what it is that you're looking for, because we can't work with you until you're ready to work with us, until you know what it is that you're going to require of us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Perfect. All right. I'm going to end up cutting it real quick. I just asked you about actionable steps. That's what that was, right?
Right. So, so in terms of actionable steps, in terms of looking at this through the lens of a business owner who has never kind of stepped into this arena before, again, the first item would be to, if you already have your website built, visit Google's website, or you can just Google the term Google Analytics. They have a nice walkthrough. They have some video tutorials. They have a great help section. Google Analytics is kind of the gold standard for online traffic monitoring, rankings monitoring, and it also ties into your Google AdWords if you decide to run ads. Google AdWords, again, and analytics as a whole, the novice, it's designed to be understood by the novice business owner, okay? But there is a great depth of data that can make the campaigns more effective. It'll make your SEO more effective. It'll make your website, your ad campaigns more effective, which kind of leads to the second step of consult with an agency that will at least put you on the right path if you're looking to keep these efforts in-house. If you're looking to partner with an agency on the long term, do your homework. Find an agency, like I said, that will do what we do, that puts that first step forward of giving you the analytics, giving you the data, so you're not just getting a proposal that was the same proposal that was handed to 150 other businesses that week. Okay. Not everybody wears a size 10 shoe, so it's one of those things that you have to have that customized and tailored for your business. So look into Google Analytics, study it, learn as much as you can. That's a great resource for business owners. That ties into AdWords as well, so they can help you set up an ad campaign. Consult with an agency that's going to give you the advice that will at least set you on the right path. And if you're looking to partner with an agency on the long term, again, the advice from there would be find an agency that understands your brand, understands the individuality of your company, and understands kind of your target market, your demographics, and how to reach those people. And again, the final step would be don't give up. Again, marketing, advertising, you have to look at it as an ongoing investment. It's the cost of doing business. If something isn't working, that doesn't mean that nothing is going to work for you. That doesn't mean it's time to give up. That simply means it's time to reevaluate. And again, agencies like ours, that's what we do all day long, is we help people determine the best course of action. And if you felt that you've taken that action and it still isn't working, give us a call and we can kind of, take a look at what's already been done and set you on the right course.
Awesome. A lot of great tips, a lot of great, things that we would need to do to kind of get ourselves ready and rolling in this arena.
Sure.
So thank you so much, Bruce. I really appreciate your time.
No problem.
Thanks everybody for watching the video, and we will see you all in the networking event tonight.